Here we express a sign of self-respect and acknowledge all the warriors that have passed before us. When studying with one training partner, we salute to show that we acknowledge and respect his presence, thank him for training with us this day, and that we are ready. When studying with multiple training partners, again we salute to show that we acknowledge and respect their presence, thank them for training with us this day, and that we are ready to commence. You look at how a simple eye contact with somebody in the street can change your entire emotional state instantly. With that one single glance, you can feel your heart start to pound and your stress level starts to have a dramatic effect on your ability to control the situation. The outcome of that simple unprovoked glance could turn out to have a dire consequence on the rest of your life. So where does the instinct really start? In the simple observation. Remember, the eyes can speak 1,000 words. What KFM has done, and what you will be learning, is how to cultivate this instinct into a ballistic form of attack. Okay, now we start right at the beginning of the programme with a neutral predator alert position. This is only the simple technical development in the first class. The application will become a lot clearer if you follow and study each homework class week by week. Our objective in this first class is to develop the concept of environmental awareness and provoke our predatory instinct. The first and most common question here is, why do we have the hands on the head in such a fashion? Well, KFM is a close quarter fighting method based on instinctive action-reaction development. When you're getting whacked around the head in a nightclub, it's impossible not to protect yourself. Your blood-driven instinct will kick in. There is one simple difference between the urban streets and the sport martial art. You usually only fight with one person at a time in the sport martial art. We all know this, but knowing it's not enough. We need to truly understand this, because unfortunately the urban streets have no compassion for those who are a little deluded or make mistakes due to lack of basic common sense and general understanding of how the urban street functions. So in class 1 we start to study and develop the importance of 360-degree awareness. This is the predator alert. Another simple thing that we all know but must never forget is that we never fight with just one person in the street. There's usually two or more. Therefore, the development of the predator alert in class 1 is essential in order to cultivate 360-degree environmental awareness. If we train with this mentality every day, then it's kind of obvious that we will start to think and operate with a completely different level of understanding and functionality. Now observe as Husto mixes the three basic technical movements that we have just learnt. Look how he expresses predatory attitude and intense animalistic observation into the technical movements. This kind of basic training will quickly start to develop our body mechanics. This kind of development is essential if we are to truly absorb the essence of KFM. Why do we use the drag step in the beginning? Well, it's simple and instinctive. When we feel threatened, our instinct is to make ourselves a smaller target and move more cautiously. Changing direction is a simple thing to do in its technical form, but changing direction in the middle of a fight is a lot harder. So we need to train this simple but many times undervalued area of study. Footwork is one of those areas of study that people sometimes find a little boring or think that it's totally obvious and therefore neglect it. As we know with most things in life, you only get back what you put in, and obviously we're training to develop our abilities as best we can. Therefore we need to put in some dedicated time and effort in order to develop good footwork skills. Our footwork ability is the equivalent to a set of low-profile racing tyres. If you want to have a great handling car that goes around corners like it's on rails, then you need to have a good set of wheels and tyres. If you put big fat wobbly tyres on a racing car, you won't be going around many corners. Our feet are the human equivalent of a great set of racing tyres, and we need a great set of human racing tyres. Watch as Husto combines the simple technical work we have studied so far. It's relatively simple at this stage, but we guarantee if you put the time and effort in, you will reap the rewards later. In this training example, Ruben is giving Husto a simple moving reference so that Husto can train and develop his predator alert. This is just a simple drill which allows you to play with the element of basic observation. Focus and attitude are the things we really need to be developing in this segment. Predator alert training drills are a great way to develop our instinct and understanding of multiple opponent situations. We can introduce 1,000 different elements into the predator drills. But in the beginning we need to keep it simple, so that we can concentrate on developing one thing at a time. In this first predator drill with two opponents, Husto, who's in the middle, must try to keep a visual control over Greg and Ruben, who are constantly moving in order to help Husto develop and improve his basic predator reaction training. There is no contact at this stage. The drill is trained slowly and with a broken range. This means we can concentrate properly on what we're trying to do before we start lifting the level of intensity and introducing different levels of contact. A great deal of KFM training is done outside in the streets for many obvious reasons. But let's take a quick look at how Husto uses the environment around him, like the wall or concrete pillar, which start to act like a friend covering Husto's back. Shadow fighting is a pure expression of our minds and shows our true physical ability. Quite clearly we only have a small amount of information at this stage, because this is only the first class of 156 that will follow week by week. But look how Husto tries to express emotional attitude whilst observing what's going on around him and using the environment to his advantage. visualisation is a really important part of the training in KFM and is introduced at the end of the first class. So you may well be asking, what's the objective of dynamic visualisation? Well, in the beginning, quite simple really. We just need to sit down comfortably, close our eyes and try to walk through in our mind the class that we've just finished training. This is a simple but very effective and powerful way to start training our minds. Okay, now we start with Class 2. Let's watch as Master Justo, founder of the KFM, uses the shadow fighting to remember what we trained in the previous class. Look how Master Justo continues to apply the simple concepts of the predator alert, attitude and environmental awareness. If we study and follow the method of learning correctly, we will start to cultivate and awaken our deep-rooted predatory instinct that we all carry within, which is the most important part of our development in the beginning, because without the cultivation of blood-driven instinct, all the techniques in the world mean nothing. Remember, the shadow fighting is a complete reflection of our minds, and the shadow fighting is also one of our greatest teachers, because it's how we express who we really are and shows in the physical form our true ability. Okay, now we are ready to start today's class. Can you remember in the last class we introduced the simple drag step, forwards and backwards? Now here in this second class, we see KFM World Ambassador Greg demonstrating the left and right drag step. We also need to carry everything that we have learnt from the previous classes. So we must be constantly developing on a daily basis our environmental awareness and our predator alert attitude, no matter what new work we are training. With this particular footwork, we need to keep the legs well flexed. This helps to protect the legs a little more in a street situation, as there are usually several people involved in a street brawl, which generally means there are lots of arms and legs flying around. And anything we can do to lessen the possibility of injury in an urban situation should always be noted and well trained. Here we we can see KFM World Ambassador Roland Madrid demonstrating the drag step drill. Roland starts with the predator alert neutral and then turns to neutral left predator. He then uses the drag step, forward, backward, left, right, and then makes a 180-degree turn. This particular footwork drill is based around a simple box pattern, and we shall be showing the fighting applications of this footwork as we progress through the homework course. This is a simple drill, but it's important to make sure that we train and follow the process correctly. Neglecting any part of the process means that our foundation will be weak, and as we all know, it's very difficult to build anything solid on weak foundations, and a bad foundation will have a dramatic effect on our future ability, plus slow down our development of personal attributes. Remember, we must keep our predator alert focused and active at all times. In the reflection drill, we start to play with the concept of action-reaction. Clearly this is an extremely important concept to develop, as street application is based on action-reaction principles. Again, as this is only class 2, the level of intensity is kept very low, but you can see how we constantly carry the predator alert with fluid movement. The learning process in the KFM Urban X program is based on and around the fundamentals of music and mathematics. Method and formula are the keys to us absorbing and expressing our work. And as with all good musicians, once they have learnt their scales, they can start to construct and play music. We need to study and learn our fighting fundamentals, after which many things will start to make more sense. And then we will start to feel more confident about who we are and what we are capable of doing as regards our fighting abilities. Here we introduce the first bass punch in the KFM Urban X program, the Pensidor jab. The Pensidor jab is very different to a regular jab due to the hand position on the head and how we use all the body to load the punch. Watch here as World Ambassador Roland Madrid demonstrates the movement and the body mechanics of the KFM Pensidor jab. Note how he loads the punch keeping the hands high, and the punch is actually delivered from the head and not the chin area, as with most regular jabs. Remember, the main reason many things are radically different in the KFM, including the simple jab, is because we are constantly in the process of developing multi-opponent principles. As with the Pensidor jab, the Pensidor cross also loads the punch using the entire body. Also observe how the hands protect the head whilst loading the punch, and how we cover the chin with the shoulder, after which the hands return to the head and not the chin. We will talk about and investigate the punch in more depth as we work our way through the programme, because multi-dimensional punching for the street has a great deal more flavour than normal. The good part about the Urban X programme is that you will be receiving a new video homework lesson to study every week. This means you will be able to catch all the little details direct from Master Justo Dieguez and myself, Andy Norman, the founders of the KFM and the KFM Urban X programme. Moving and attacking is a primal ability, but not something that comes easy to us anymore, as we humans have now become domesticated due to the society in which we live, meaning our animalistic instinct lay dormant in most of us. What we need to do is learn how to awaken the sleeping predator, and we do this by training a little every day, even if it's only 5 minutes, as little but often adds up to a lot in the end. We need to train this simple drill properly with a good attitude, because if we invest a little time in the beginning, we will get a big return in the end. Development of the Pensidor cross is the same as the Pensidor jab. Key things that we must keep active again are the predator alert, attitude, environmental awareness and fluid body mechanics. You look how Ambassador Roland applies really good mechanics on every rep. He keeps the speed moderate so he can focus and concentrate on developing all the work in the class properly. Running before we can walk has predictable consequences. Now we start developing our pencil jab training on the focus pads. By starting with one only training partner, it gives us the chance to concentrate on developing our technical ability and good body mechanics, which in turn will help us with the development of dynamic and powerful deliverance of whichever weapon we are using at the time. Before we start adding another training partner to the equation with the intention of lifting the levels of stress and stimulate instinctive action-reaction ability, we need to make sure we have the technical part down solid. We can really start to appreciate the predator alert in these action-reaction drills. Look how Ambassador Roland stays extremely focused, using all the things we've been learning so far. Even though the work is quite basic as we are only using one punch at the moment, look how the predator alert attitude helps to lift the level of intense focus. With the introduction of two opponents, we can now start to apply a little stress to the predator in the middle, because he must keep the predator alert active whilst changing direction quickly and striking. This is only the beginning of this kind of predator alert development training, because as we all know, it's extremely important that we build our ability to attack whilst in movement. Hitting the human body whilst in motion is not as easy as people think. In fact, it's extremely difficult. Therefore, the development of all our basic weapons is essential, and this style of predator alert drill is a perfect way to start our action-reaction predator alert training. Again, we must be very clear that this is only the beginning of the predator alert drills, because as you will notice, the drill is only firing in one direction at the moment. Two predators around Ambassador Greg are being very kind at this stage of the training, because they are not attacking him, only feeding the focus in a basic format. This will change soon, and we will see the intensity rise quite dramatically. We finish the class again with the shadow fighting. You look how important it is to own the movements that we learn. Even a simple jab or cross with basic footwork looks really cool if we put the time and effort in. And thinking we know something just isn't enough. We need to shadow and express what we have learned and how we are feeling. And the reflection of what we are able to show is the reflection of what we actually own. started with the dynamic visualization in Class 1. It was the beginning of our training the mind, and it's something that we need to do at the end of each class or training session that we attend or make. This is a very important part of the learning process within KFM, because without the development of a strong mind, the body will be physically incapable of performing even the most basic of applications under pressure. It's important to remember that when we shadow fight, that we always carry the work forward with us that we have learnt in the previous classes. We must make sure that we don't start bouncing all over the place and losing track of what we're supposed to be concentrating on. Trying to do or add things to the shadow fighting that are completely irrelevant to what we are studying will only confuse things even more. We will start to get lost and lose our focus, and this is completely detrimental to our personal development. So remember, stick to what we are learning, keep focused, apply a good attitude, and make sure to train consistently. Here in Class 3, we start by seeing KFM World Ambassador Greg showing the basic movements of the Pensidor. The Pensidor in its basic form is an aggressive defence in attack mechanic. And the objective in this part of the technical development is to give the Pensidor a little fluidity, which will start giving the foundation to the ballistic motion that the Pensidor is famous for. The three levels of the Pentateccio open up a universe of possibilities with endless applications, all of which will be investigated in time. Observe as Ambassador Greg demonstrates the high Pentateccio, followed by the middle Pentateccio direct, then the middle Pentateccio left, followed by the middle Pentateccio right, before showing us the Pentateccio low, left and right. Good observation is one of the elements that we need to focus on, as well as concentrating on the technical development of the Pentateccio. The way in which Ambassador Greg shows the Pentateccio is simple and slow. This gives you the chance to study the mechanic properly. Now we start making reference to some of the specific movements as far as the Pensidor is concerned, like where we are in relation to the opponent and how to observe what is going on around us. This is the continuation of the predator alert. What we now start to do is develop our abilities with this new information, and as we accumulate more knowledge and understanding, so our ability and confidence will grow accordingly. By learning about the three ventanas of the Pensidor, we can now start to develop our understanding and application of this amazing yet instinctive reaction. The Pensidor is not a new technique or invention. It's a pure blood-driven instinctive reaction within the human. What KFM has done is evolve this expression into a radical and ballistic form of attack and destroy. We have just learnt about the windows in the previous section, and now we're going to take a look at the KFM concept regarding the doors of the body. What we are trying to do here is build a mental library and give reference to all the parts of the human body that we're going to target for destruction. By following an incredible methodology designed and created by KFM, purely as a consequence of real events, experiences and subsequent years of investigation, we will begin to develop a whole new way of understanding as far as street application is concerned. Combining the simple punches will make us use and develop our body mechanics even further. As a result of putting in lots of time and effort, Ambassador Roland looks really clean and crisp. His body mechanics speak for themselves. The work is only simple, but he looks really sharp, and this is the consequence of following a simple yet profound formula of learning. Look how Ambassador Roland now starts to use the Pensidor more effectively whilst punching in combination. The reason we learnt the Pensidor early on in the programme is because we clearly don't need to keep our hands fixed on our heads constantly. For example, if we are in broken distance and our opponent cannot touch, there really is no need. But as we enter into the fight, our instinct will automatically take over, and the consequence of that instinct is that we will protect the head with a very good reason. And that's why we learn to punch with the hands from the head and not the chin area. Because in the middle of a fight, it's almost impossible to drop your hands low without receiving an unpleasant consequence. Focus pad work is great for interactive partner training. This is where we are able to develop good attitude and power, plus a great cardio workout. But we need our pad feeder to be active and alert the same as us. For this reason, a pad feeder in KFM must always apply the same attitude as the predator. When we start developing our work on the focus pads, it's extremely important to make sure that the focus pad feeder is in the same frame of mind, a predator. Bad or lazy pad feeders who stand there waving their arms around like they're trying to land an aeroplane will only inhibit our ability to train and develop properly. So the role of a pad feeder is vital and should be developed with the same amount of attitude as the predator. Let's watch as KFM World Ambassador Roland and Greg show the Pensa cross on the focus pads. Look how the pad feeder uses the same predatory body movement as the predator himself. So let's take a look and see what we've got going on here. The predator alert as always, because we must carry this attitude with us every day. Habitual training is simple, but profound if the concept is applied properly. What else can we see here? The drag step footwork, forward, backward, left and right, mirroring of the partner, Pensidor, Pensatecho, and the use of the ventanas. Again, let's watch as World Ambassador Roland and Greg combine the Pensa jab, Pensa cross. If we apply ourselves seriously, even the simplest of work will give us so much in return. Habitual training is simple, but profound if the concept is applied properly. As we all know, the street has no compassion, and we are all studying street application together. So we must constantly keep our mind alert and focused, even when training some of the more basic elements. Always applying the predator alert, because we must carry this attitude with us every day of our lives if we are to truly absorb the blood of KFM. Once we've learned how to throw a punch, we need to learn how to receive and destroy a punch. The Pensidor really is an amazing evolution of instinctive reaction with unlimited potentials, and now we start to enter and investigate this incredible subject of study. In the beginning, the predator learns how to receive a simple direct, circular and diagonal punch. As with all the work in this grade, the level of intensity is moderate, as we are still trying to concentrate on building a good foundation that will support all of our future investigation and development. Now we really start to open the door of action-reaction training. This will definitely start to provoke instinctive emotion and is one of our key areas of development in the early classes. Look how we keep the level of intensity low in order to keep good structure and mechanics. Don't worry about the speed yet, it will come with time and training. It's much more beneficial at this stage for us to have a sharp body mechanic and a really good predator alert attitude. Look how Ambassador Roland makes good use of the ventanas or windows before he strikes, and by concentrating on one thing at a time, in this case the Pensa cross, he's able to keep good structure and good form. A simple observation. Look how much of the KFM training is done outside in the street. And as we are studying the subject of street application, it only makes good sense to train in the environment that we are studying. Combining the Pensidor with the Pensa jab cross, we continue to develop our ability to punch from the hands on the head position. It should start to become a little more evident as to why we punch in such a way. If we receive an attack and destroy it with the Pensidor, it doesn't make any sense to drop the hands to the chin area to throw a punch. Send it from the position we're already in. It's much more effective, but it does take a little training. By using the two-man predator drill, we are constantly provoking and cultivating the instinct a little more each day. This kind of training has very serious lessons that we should be listening to and learning, but it's also great fun too. You look how this work is very simple in reality, but to catch the ability and functionality of only a simple punch takes a fair degree of work if we want a good level, which obviously we all do. Look how the work in this class has followed a simple process, developing the jab, then the cross, and finally the jab cross, with either one or two opponents. By following a strict methodology, we actually start to learn really fast, which is quite clearly our objective and the reason we are training. Predator alert drill can help us so much in the development of simple concepts and principles. One thing we must always remember whilst training is that we never fight with just one person in the street. If we carry this thought with us daily, it will reflect in our expression when we shadow fight or when we show our work. And definitely we will be provoking instinctive action and reaction principles. With this particular drill, it all starts getting a little bit more fun. The stress creeps in a little now, and we need to be on the ball. And if our pad feeders do their job properly, we really get some good training from this drill. There's actually quite a lot going on, even though the drill in reality is still quite basic, but nevertheless we are developing many incredible things here. Predator alert gets a really good workout here, as he doesn't have time to relax and think, only act and react. Hopefully we can already start to see that if we train and follow a good methodology, we can attain really good attributes pretty quick. Okay, now let's take a look at the final drill of this class before we conclude with the shadow fighting. Here World Ambassador Greg puts it all together, combining all the things that we have covered and learnt today. And remember, try to train outside sometimes if you have never done so before. It teaches us many things, but it's actually really good fun too. As always, we conclude this class with the shadow fighting. Let's watch as World Ambassador Roland expresses the work we have covered so far. He adds a little energy and attitude now, and starts looking extremely crisp and sharp, but with very simple information. Now let's watch as World Ambassador Greg shows the shadow, but a little more relaxed. Look how he incorporates the elements around back into the shadow fighting. As with every KFM class that we make, we always finish with a dynamic visualisation. As we explained before, it's one of the most powerful ways of training the mind, and the more we do it, the better we will get. Let's get one thing clear though, there are no magic or super secret powers to be had by the practicing of dynamic meditation, just a strong and clear mind. In the end, it's a very powerful form of training, and has many ways in which it can be exploited. Here we start with week 4 of the KFM Urban X White Grade syllabus, and as always we start the class with a shadow fighting. As you can see, with only a small amount of information and a positive mental attitude towards our training, the look and the dynamics of the body really start to come alive, and we start developing our personal ability very quickly. This, as you know by now, is the consequence of following a great methodology that KFM has spent a lifetime developing in order to transmit the work effectively. By consistently taking our training outside on a regular basis, we get a real feel for the outside environment and how to use it to our advantage. We get used to training in our everyday clothes and the shoes that we've decided to wear, which obviously has a big effect on how we move and operate. With the introduction of the Pensidor hook, we continue to follow the same process of development as in the previous classes. We haven't forgotten about the Pensidor jab or the Pensidor cross from the previous class. It's just that we now isolate the lead and rear Pensidor hook so that we can study it properly. Plus we continue to use the same footwork drills as before. Again, you look how fluid body mechanics really are the essence here. It's the fluidity that will give us the dynamic and ballistic movement that we all desire. Without the development of fluid mechanics, we won't really catch the raw edge that makes KFM so unique. We should be starting to use the windows a little more effectively now. You look how Ambassador Roland always primes a punch via one of the windows, and he also plays with the Pensidor. Because everything is always in constant motion, it's not easy to see exactly what's going on. But if we observe closely enough, we can see how he uses the middle level Pensidor before he loads each of the punches. The Pensidor over may look a little strange in the beginning, but all will be revealed step by step. Lots of great body mechanics to practice here, coupled with a simple neutral left and right footwork. Sounds stupid, but if we want to understand how the street functions, then we need to study the street, feel the street and train in the street. This way we will become a little more acclimatised with the arena that we're all studying. And remember, if we are training outside, then let's not forget that we can always use the elements to help us. One rule that we always carry with us in the KFM is the understanding of who we are, where we are, and who is our friend. This has many angles of understanding, all of which we will touch on little by little as we continue our journey through the Urban X syllabus. Now we carry and develop a piece of work from the previous classes. The Pensidor jab was one of the first basic weapons that we started to develop, and now we add the Pensidor in combination. This step-by-step process is how we receive, develop and absorb the knowledge, and the method of how we train this information is the stimulation that starts to provoke the instinct. Provocation, or attack and destroy, is a predatory concept and something that we stimulate early in the KFM training. We build the process step by step. Without a doubt, this is how we develop and cultivate instinctive training. Action-reaction is the elixir of the predator, and is the one thing that we all need to absorb if we are to obtain the levels that we all desire. Little by little we are building our ability with the major weapons of the body. We need to truly believe in our punch, not just say, yeah, I know that, because everybody knows it. What we need to do is cultivate and develop a level of understanding and ability that will only come about through persistent training. We should also be starting to get a better feel for how to use the windows more effectively by now, and we should also be feeling a little more comfortable with the shaping of the Pensidor. By provoking the opponent, we start to play with his thought processes and his emotions. And when we develop the ability to play with and drive how people respond emotionally, we open up a completely new door within the fight. At the moment, this provocation is in its basic form, that being in the form of provoke and receive. But just because we use the word receive doesn't mean that we receive the opponent's attack passively. Far from it. We may be receiving at this moment in time, but our intention is definitely to destroy the incoming attack. Pensidor continues to develop our understanding of the different angles of attack. By investigating the lines and angles, this forces us to focus on our body mechanics. Because if we don't move the body correctly, we will start to feel how the punch becomes jammed and lacking in power. Good body mechanics also help us to develop explosive and ballistic attacks with dynamic motion in multiple directions, and explosive movement is something that all predatory animals possess. Now let's watch as Ambassador Roland works the footwork drill again, and how he combines the 4 punches we have learnt so far. Note that he continues to carry all the work from the previous classes, making sure he applies the Pensidor and correct use of the 3 windows to prime each of the punches. We as humans are the ultimate predator because of our ability to adapt and evolve. For this reason we must carry the predator alert with us daily. Investigation really is the blood of KFM, and we need to reawaken and cultivate our primal instinct in order to stimulate our deep-rooted abilities that have made us the ultimate predator of all time. It is not possible to train this next drill in any other way than very slowly, relaxed, and in an informative and educational manner. It is shown in this way so that we can avoid any unnecessary risk of injury due to excessive contact. Plus, by training gently, we are able to feel and understand what is the ultimate intention of the Pensidor, which is to smash and destroy the incoming attack. So we must be very careful with this area of study, and remember this work is shown in isolation and not in application. Now let's watch as Ambassador Greg and Ruben develop the Pensidor on the focus pads. This is where we are able to lift the level of intensity and we will feel our instinctive reaction kick in a bit. This drill is still quite basic at this stage, as Ambassador Greg is still developing his technical ability with the Pensidor, and Ambassador Ruben is only applying a little pressure to make sure Ambassador Greg is paying attention and responding appropriately. You will have great fun developing the Pensidor, and it really is an untapped universe with endless possibilities and unlimited potentials. Now we put all 4 of the punches we have developed so far onto the focus pads. Because we are changing the angles and lines of attack, we will feel how the body starts to have no option other than to move accordingly. Ambassador Greg only shows the punches from his left lead position. Don't forget we must train both left and right sides of the body equally, If not, this will have a damaging effect on our later developments. Now let's watch as Ambassador Greg combines the jab with the Pensidor, the cross with the Pensidor, the hook with the Pensidor, the over with the Pensidor. This is our action-reaction training in flow. This very simple but effective training drill will quickly help us to give a true value and understanding of why we protect the head with the Pensidor as we enter into the close distance of a fight. Provocation is an intense emotional trigger that enables us to create and exploit opportunities based on the fact that when humans are in a heightened adrenaline state, all logic goes out of the window and stupid mistakes can be exploited and provoked. As always, when we introduce the two-man predator drill, instinctive reaction is our only answer. And if we haven't done our technical study and training, it will show. And we will feel completely stressed as we won't have any answers. Predator drill is a simple yet extremely profound method of developing our multi-redirectional attack and destroy abilities, and it really is the key to the essence of action-reaction. The Predator drill will teach us 1,000 things about ourselves, and it also puts to bed any myths about multiple attacking being easy, because it's not. But if we train it every day, then we'll get an awful lot better at it. As we can see, even though redirectional striking is being trained, Ambassador Roland in the middle is only exploiting the 180-degree angle change because he's only combining and using the simple work we have studied so far. Total chaos is not in play yet and totally changes everything again, as you can well imagine and will feel very shortly. By constantly placing ourselves in a multidimensional environment on a daily basis, we will develop different kinds of attention and awareness attributes. And as we are all striving to develop our understanding and abilities of this crazy area that has no real set or fixed answers, we must really venture out into the unknown and listen very carefully to the answers that we receive. You should be able to see by now how the process is starting to grow steadily, and in reality how simple the process actually is. But let's not confuse simple with easy. The formula may be simple, but serious training is essential if we are to catch the ability. In our concluding sequence of this week's class, we mix the punches with emotional provocation, or knocking on the door as it's known in the KFM, which brings to life and instigates the dynamic and ballistic action of the Pensidor. This is only week 4 of our training, but you look how with only simple and very limited information, our shadow fighting starts to take shape already. And again, let's not forget we must take some of our training outside. We don't have to train outside all of the time because situations don't always allow, but it's very important to get a feel for the environment around us. Walking and talking the class through in our mind will help us to clarify the work we have just studied. With that clarity comes a level of understanding that will make future investigations a little easier to grasp and to develop. We continue our development of the punches in week 5, and the first weapon of study in this week's class is the Pensidor slap. The Pensidor slap is a crazy yet very effective strike in the street, and in KFM is known as the Joker's hand. We have named this strike as so due to its ironic and unpredictable abilities in the fight. The Joker is famous for never being quite what you think, and the Pensidor slap is exactly the same. It functions in all ranges, and many times has a twisted and sinister effect, one that you would never suspect. With the Pensidor upper, we have massive body mechanics kicking in, and the legs act like suspension units on a car, which also helps to develop ballistic and explosive movement. Pensa upper completes our 6 angles of attack with the hand strikes, which means we are now ready to develop these 6 angles, and then start to study how we connect them with other weapons of the body that we will be studying in the not too distant future. By working all the 6 punches in continuous motion, we start to connect all the angles of attack. We have talked about the body mechanics quite a lot in the previous classes, but we will now feel that without fluid body movement, it's almost impossible to transit from one strike to the next. We must also take care to move the feet correctly and in time with the body. This helps us to find the power we need in the strike and also helps to protect the knees from unnecessary problems. Pensidor Direct is the first of the elbow strikes that we develop in the Urban X programme, and as you can see, unlike with a traditional elbow, we don't take the hands away from our head while striking, because this leaves the face a little exposed, which in short range is not our best option, especially if we are in a multi-opponent situation. The elbows, as we all know, are an amazing weapon and create massive damage in a short range with not too much effort. Our job now is to train and find the connection between the punches, the Pensidor and the direct elbows. When we start to connect the punch with the Pensidor and the elbows, we need to have some kind of understanding of what we're trying to achieve. If not, it's just a simple drill, and we don't catch the true potential of the work, which kind of defeats the object really. So, what do we all think this particular work is teaching us? Well, as we all know, fighting is an emotionally charged chain reaction of thought processes. And if we can learn how to instigate and provoke a reaction in the opponent, then maybe we can drive a potentially bad situation a little more in our favour. We need to play in our mind with the concepts of instigation and provocation whilst developing this work. If we can really plug into this kind of mentality, then we will start to find and develop things in our training that most will never find at all. By developing our ability to connect the different strikes, we will start to unveil the hidden potentials of the Pensidor. We will start to feel how the elbow is a natural yet totally radical expression of the Pensidor, and also make us realise that there is still so much to discover about the basic weapons of the human and how we can further develop our abilities of them. We all need to believe that we can find more, and we will. A conditioned mind is our own worst enemy, because we only know what we know, and we all think that we know everything. Especially when it comes to fighting. We all like to think that we've seen everything there is to see, but if we carry this thought process in our mind, it will stop us from learning so many new things that may be right in front of us. If we are prepared to stop, look and listen, then we will be amazed how many new things we will discover on our journey of investigation. And if we really do have a genuine thirst for learning, then this will definitely fuel our passion to investigate and discover. Focus training is where we can get to express a little more energy and power, and if we have a good training partner, then he will help us by constantly provoking and pressure testing our technical ability. Hopefully, if you've arrived at class 5 and are watching this class, we should be starting to get a bit more feel for the Pensidor. And also we should be starting to believe in us a little bit more, which will open the door to a whole new dimension as far as learning is concerned. You look how simple a direct elbow is really. We found this simple yet radical expression as a pure consequence of experience, after which we took it back to the training ground, which is known as the laboratory in KFM, and this is where we perform experiments with new or developing findings. Instigation is another key area of emotional development within the KFM. We are able to instigate incredible reactions in people with only a simple look. Remember class 1, where does the instinct start? In the observation. Well, this is just an expanse on that inbuilt animalistic instinct. We have found that the continuous study of the human as the ultimate predator, together with all its strengths and weaknesses, is a fascinating one. And will probably never stop teaching us new things about ourselves and how we are constantly evolving. Even if we can't see it, we are. We carry many analogies in the KFM, and the Pensidor Direct expresses one of them, the chameleon. Look how we can play with and create an illusion as far as the concept of defence is concerned. Just like the chameleon who can change what you think you can see. The Pensidor is no different, because it's an amazing weapon that is totally there, yet nobody can see it. As with all the classes so far, we conclude with a two-man predator drill, and for a very good reason, as I'm sure you know by now. These drills are the foundation of our instinct. They teach us to absorb action-reaction from the beginning of our journey, and will teach us everything we need to know about ourselves. We are never able to relax or become overconfident with this style of training, because the predator drill will constantly remind us that no matter how good we think we are, that we will receive in the street, no question. It's just how bad or how much. You look how simple, yet at the same time how much work there is in the development of simple abilities in a multi-opponent environment. And remember, this is still only class 5 of the white belt. The predator drill at this stage is still very basic, as Ambassador Roland in the middle is experiencing very little, if any, kind of attack from the two opponents, Greg and Ruben. This allows Roland to experience a little pressure, but not overwhelm him, and in the end destroy the development process. Now, in the last development of this class, we put the three things we've studied together. Like we said before, there is a lot more to be learned here if we listen to what is going on. We need to understand the reasons behind why we are doing and what we are doing. If not, it's just another drill with no reasoning behind its construction. Emotions drive our every movement. Therefore, it's important that we acknowledge this fact in order to get the best out of us. As always, we're going to conclude this class with a shadow fighting. Let's just take a quick look. Emotion can stimulate elation or manifest destruction within us humans. Positively charged emotion is the essence of great achievements, but at the same time, look how a stupid movement of anger can change our entire life. Emotions can destroy us in so many different ways, and we need to overcome this weakness that exists in the human. Control of emotions only comes about with the development of mental discipline practiced on a daily basis. He who believes he can conquer will conquer. When we apply this level of mental ability to our training, the results are usually very positive and stimulate greater learning potentials.